Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to Getting Started with Conference Speaking. My name is Yash Prabhu. I am an engineering manager at Comcast, and you can find me on Twitter and LinkedIn at these handles. So today I want to speak with you about getting started with conference speaking, but I want to start first with how I got here. About 6 years ago, I decided to sign up for a show and tell that a call that was put out by a local meetup in Philly, where they asked for anybody to talk about some cool things that they had built. And I decided, because wearables had just come out at that time, to build an Android watch face. And this was way before Wear OS. And I wanted to just, get some sort of deadline to build something really quickly and show it off. So within 5 days, I built the watch face and I wrote a lightning talk for about 5 minutes so I could present in front of people I barely knew. And when I actually went to this place, there were about maybe 100 developers all in one room, a dark office room with no mic. So my first experience with public speaking was just going out there and speaking in front of a large crowd about something I'd just built. But I was bit by the speaking bug. I really, really enjoyed doing this because after I gave that talk, a lot of people came up to me and wanted to find out more about, wearables in general, how to develop apps for Android, and so on. So with that, experience, I looked around for workshops and conferences that would help me build my public speaking skills. And one such conference was Write Speak Code, which helps women in tech become better writers, better public speakers, and contribute to open source. And over the past 6 years, this talk that I gave was 6 years ago. The past 6 years, I've spoken at over a dozen conferences. Some of them have been all over the United States. And right now, I'm presenting to you to an international audience. And last year, my biggest achievement was that I got to keynote at DroidCon New York. And this was, again, in front of hundreds of developers. And for me, I wanted to share today how to get into conference speaking. And I want to demystify public speaking for all of you so you can become a conference speaker one day too. So, why public speaking? For me, there was a lot of personal and professional growth. I was able to prepare without being prepared, or with being prepared, I'm able to present to a large group of people, and I've gained the confidence to present my ideas to people around me, to my colleagues, to strangers. I've gained a lot of leadership skills. At work, when I first started public speaking, at work I was promoted to an Android tech lead role. And because I was in leadership at the same time I was in public speaking, I felt like there were a lot of skills that were similar. I had a lot of confidence to present to a wider group. I became a better storyteller because when you're writing slides, when you're thinking of how you deliver a talk to someone, you start thinking about what should be the beginning, what should be the middle, how should I end it. So I became a much better storyteller. And this was a great opportunity for me to meet new people in my industry and to build my community. Through public speaking, I was able to run the local Google Developer Group chapter for 4 years. And I was able to build my network of contacts in the industry. I made a lot of industry connections. And it's so nice to actually, when you go to conferences or you meet all these people online, it's through all of these speaking opportunities that I've used in the past 6 or so years. So, with that, today I want to talk about the three major areas of public speaking. First, call for proposals, then abstracts and biography, and then preparation. The largest portion of this talk is preparation, but I want to, as I said, demystify public speaking in general. So, I'm going to talk about each of these sections. So, generally, when you want to speak at a conference, this is how it works. A conference puts out a call for proposal, like DroidCon Americas did a few months ago. And then people submit abstracts to it. Abstracts are usually 3 to 4 lines about a particular topic, which tells people who are reading it what this talk is going to be about. And these abstracts are submitted through the portal that the conference puts out or through a Google form, and then reviewed by a program committee. So the program committee is usually 5 to 10 developers from the community. In our case, it's Android community, who talk about which of these abstracts make sense to to be part of the program for the conference. And then they select the speakers, and then the speaker emails are sent out, and speakers present at conference. A call for proposal, or CFP, is something that all conferences put out in general. If they want to get speakers from the community, this is where things start. A question that I get often is, how do I find call for proposals? Where do I go to find these speaking opportunities? In my case, it was a call for proposal from a local meetup, and through that, I was able to find other opportunities. So I would say first follow conferences or thought leaders like Google developer experts on Twitter or LinkedIn, because they're the ones who go to a lot of these GDEs, go to a lot of these conferences all over the world. And you can go through their feed and see what are the kinds of conferences they speak at. You can also follow conferences directly like DroidCon and DroidCon Americas, for example, and attend local meetups or Google developer groups. So local meetups and GDGs usually have intro slides where they talk about, these are the upcoming conferences, this is where you can speak, and this gives you an idea of like what's coming up, what the deadlines are, and so on. You can also sign up for Android Weekly or newsletters in your community that talk a lot about tech conferences. And you can sign up for conference newsletters or CFP aggregators. I've signed up for plenty of them because I want to speak at some conferences. Like DroidCon is something I like to speak at very often. So I signed up for a lot of these newsletters so I can go and find these conferences to speak at. There is an Android study group GitHub page which keeps track of all upcoming, online-only, past conferences, as well as you can add any conferences that are missing from this list. I've also found this conference aggregator called CFP Land, and this keeps track of not just Android conferences, but all tech conferences all over the world. And if you are running a conference, you can also add your conference to this CFP aggregator. Next, I want to talk about abstracts and biography. Like knowing where to find conferences is great. You can go attend them, but if you want to get started with speaking, you need to first write an abstract about a topic that you're passionate about. And abstracts are generally, as I mentioned, 3 to 4 lines about a topic and what you're going to present to the conference, to the audience at the conference. And a biography is, again, 3 to 4 lines about you to establish your expertise on that topic. So before I get started with writing an abstract, I brainstorm. I look at all the past talks of the conference for inspiration. Like you are at a conference today and you're probably inspired by all the things that people are talking about. And maybe you're thinking of, I have a lot of knowledge about this topic. I should probably give a talk about this. And now take a pencil to paper, just 30 minutes, and write down everything you know about that topic. It could just be titles. It would just be like how to do so and so. And then if you are, if you want to write down everything you're an expert on for each of these prompts, I'll give you a list of prompts that you can use so that it can help you detangle all the ideas in your head. And you can get feedback on your abstract from your colleagues and friends. A lot of times people in the community can give you great feedback on what is interesting and what is not. But if you're really passionate about something, you should definitely write an abstract about it and submit it to a conference. So here are some prompts that I like to use. The first one, what's a talk you would like to see at a conference? Now, the first DroidCon I went to was in New York about 6 years ago. And I noticed that there were a lot of talks on so many different topics, and it was wonderful. And I had a lot of knowledge on in-app billing at that point because I'd worked on it at work, and I wanted to see that conference. So I wrote an abstract, see that at a conference. And so I wrote an abstract about in-app billing and how you can implement it into your app, and submitted it the following year. And I got a chance to speak about it at DroidCon New York. What would the audience gain from this talk? Yet another prompt, like why am I giving this talk? Is there a perspective that I can give to this topic that other speakers have not given? So think about it from the audience's point of view. If I were in the audience, what would I like to see? What new technology do you want to learn more about? Now, I talked about how I wanted to learn about Android wearables and building wearable apps. And that's something I just signed up for and gave myself a deadline to learn about a new technology. So this is another prompt you can use. What's the most recent problem you solved at work? At work, we run into all sorts of things that could be very specific to our work, but also generic enough that we can talk about it with our colleagues and peers in the industry. What did you work on the last 6 months to a year? Could be things like moving your code base entirely to Kotlin, moving to Jetpack Compose. All of these things are things that you can talk about with a wider audience. And what's your hobby? What lessons are shared between your hobby and your job? I have a colleague who loves to knit, and he is writing a talk called Using Kanban Projects for Knitting. And that's something that you can use to bring two or three of your interests together, tech and knitting, for example. So if you go to this blog post, there's a lot of ideas on prompts that you can use to write abstracts. So now there are different kinds of talks. There are tutorials and how-to. This one is a how-to on giving a conference talk. There are case studies where you can talk about how you adopted Jetpack Compose at work. There are distributed knowledge kind of talks, which is aggregated knowledge from across the community. Ideas and keynotes are those kind of talks which tie a lot of the themes at a conference together. You have group discussions and panels, kind of like the one that you saw yesterday, where you have a 5 to 10 panelists and one moderator talking about modern Android development. And then you have workshops, which are more hands-on, like code labs, and are longer, and everybody who attends that gets to actually learn by doing. But today I want to focus more on tutorials and how-to in general, because this will help you build your skills in presentation and delivery. So what does an abstract look like? Let's take an abstract that was submitted to this conference, and this talk was just given by Sumaya a couple of hours ago. When view models go to die, saving view model state. And looking at this title, you know that there's something to do about view models and about saving state, because the title is quite specific. So you know exactly what kind of talk this is going to be. But when she talks about more about this in the abstract, she talks about the Android OS killing running processes and how you need to save state. And then she also puts a line in here which says, this talk will use code examples to demonstrate and how to use saved state handle and how to use Jetpack. So you know this is going to be a talk which is highly technical. You know this is going to be a talk which has code examples, and it's going to be something which is kind of interactive. What does a biography look like? Now, this is one that I submitted to DroidCon Americas. It talks about my role currently at work, what kind of team I'm leading, where I work, what I did previously, and how am I a part of the community. I also added one line here which says she's also a 4-time speaker at DroidCon New York, including the keynote talk in 2019. And the reason I did this is because I wanted to establish my expertise on why I'm a person who's an expert enough to talk about getting into public speaking. And since my abstract was related to public speaking, I wanted to tweak my biography to show that that I have that expertise. If I were giving a highly technical talk, then I would probably say I'm a manager at Comcast and I've been writing Android apps since 2010. So I kind of changed my biography based on the conference. Now, there's a conference like Lead Developer, and over there, it's usually engineering leaders who speak about leadership. And in that case, I would focus more on my leadership skills. And in the most recent Lead Developer, I submitted an abstract on interviewing, on making tech interviews inclusive. So I tweaked my bio to add that. I had interviewed over 100 plus candidates, and I strive to make the interview process better for everyone in the tech industry. Also, make sure to have a good profile picture of yourself. Every time you submit an abstract to a conference, you need to have your biography and a profile picture. So it makes sense to keep track of these somewhere in a GitHub page or a Google Doc. I usually keep my profile picture in Dropbox or Google Drive so I can easily access it anytime I need to fill up a conference call for proposal form. Make sure to get a friend to take a picture of you, or just go take a selfie that is professional enough that you can submit either to a conference and also put on your LinkedIn or Twitter. If you're rejected, it's okay. A lot of times we get rejected. There are conferences that I want to speak at, but I've never got a chance to because there are other talks that are way better. It happens, it's fine. But ask conference organizers for feedback. They may provide it, and that might help you tweak your abstracts and your bio and your uh, reasons why you're submitting to this conference. Try another conference or meetup or DevFest. It's not the same program committee at every DroidCon or at every conference. So if it doesn't work out in this conference, try another one. But make sure that you incorporate feedback as much as possible. And if a conference doesn't work out, try a local meetup, try a DevFest. Local meetups are always looking for new speakers, so this is a great place to get started. And focus on quality over quantity. A lot of times people focus on getting at least 5 abstracts in there. And sometimes it just makes sense to focus on 1 or 2 abstracts that are really good, things that are really passionate about. And then you have these plan B abstracts that if you want to submit, you can submit those. But I would say focus on at least 1 or 2 that are really good quality abstracts that you can submit. So some quick tips on abstracts and biography. Brainstorm. You've been to a conference, you spent 2 days at a conference, and you have a lot of ideas about Android right now. So if you can think about things that you want to really talk about, start writing them down now. Keep a document or GitHub page of all your abstracts and biographies. Reuse your abstracts, submit multiple, but focus on quality. Keep track of your accepted and rejected talks. This is useful because you can always figure out how to improve these talks, these rejected talks. Ask for feedback, not just for conference organizers, conference organizers, but also from your colleagues when you write your abstracts. Tweak your bio for the conference, and this is another way of kind of establishing your expertise, and have a professional picture taken of yourself. And if that is not possible, just do it yourself. This next section that I want to talk about is preparation, because it's not just about writing an abstract and submitting to a conference. You actually have to spend a lot of time thinking about slide design and delivery. Again, brainstorm. I always like to take a pencil to paper and write down everything I know about the topic. It's a great way of getting all my ideas on a paper. And then once I write everything down, I look on the internet to see if there are things that I missed, some gaps that I can fill. And once I fill that all up, I group them into 3 to 5 sections. If you notice in this talk, I have 3 sections. I have call for proposals, abstracts and bio, and then I have preparation. And then I transfer all these notes to slides. So now you get like the skeleton of your talk. Some questions to ask yourself when you're writing your talk is, why am I giving this talk? What am I so passionate about? What is going to be in this talk that the audience can gain from it? Can the audience learn something new that they haven't learned before? So think about it from your perspective and also from the perspective of the audience. There are lots of questions you can ask conference organizers as well. If you're new to conference speaking, this is something to keep at the back of your mind. Here, if you're doing this in person, think about things like, what is the setup of the room? Is there a podium or is there a lectern? A podium is a platform, kind of like a raised stage that you stand on. And a lectern is a desk that you keep on top of the podium with a mic, so you can keep your laptop on it. Are the slides? The projector screen, is it going to be right behind me, or is it going to be at a height? It's nice to know these things if you want to walk around on stage. What is the expected audience size? Can I walk around on the podium? Can I interact with the audience? What time should I arrive before my talk? In most cases, you should arrive 10 minutes early so they can help you with your setup. Will there be a confidence monitor? A confidence monitor is kind of like a teleprompter where you can see your upcoming slides and also your speaker notes. A lot of conferences early on when I was speaking did not offer this option. So I did not rely on it. So I don't really look at speaker notes anymore. Can I view my speaker notes? And that's a question you can ask the organizers as well. More questions to ask. Can I walk around on stage? If you're the kind of person who likes to pace around while speaking, this might be helpful for you. What kind of microphone will be provided? So there are usually three different kinds: a lapel mic that you could put on your collar, a headset that goes over your ears, or a handheld mic that you can hold in your hand and walk around. And if you're the kind of person who gestures a lot like me, then you'd probably want something which is not wired and goes over your ears. So it depends on your preference. Will there be a separate Wi-Fi for speakers? Now, a lot of times when you go to large conferences, there might be thousands of attendees, and you you may have to use the same Wi-Fi as everyone else. And if you're doing things like live demos, you need to be connected to the internet. It makes sense to have a separate Wi-Fi as a speaker. Will a remote or HDMI adapter be provided? Pro tip here, always carry your own. If you notice right now, I've been using a remote to change my slides. It's something that I've had a habit of doing for a long time. I carry a remote, an HDMI adapter, as well as an HDMI cable. How much time do I have for this talk? Now, generally, you have about 30 minutes or 40 minutes for a talk, and you need to make sure that you give at least 5 to 10 minutes buffer for any technical issues or for any Q&A. More in-person questions. Will there be Q&A after the talk? In the case of DroidCon, yes, we're using Slido for asking questions. Can I interact with the audience? Yes. If the answer is yes, you can figure out how to engage with the audience. Can I test my setup beforehand? A lot of times conferences let you come in and do a dry run the day before or earlier on in the day. Will the talk be recorded and released later? And this is something that most conferences do, where they have a video recording that they post on YouTube or their website. Who is my contact at the conference? And that's someone that you can reach out to in case there are any technical issues that you have at the conference. Is there a code of conduct? Now, I have a personal rule that I will always speak at a conference if there is a code of conduct that is well enforced. A code of conduct is meant to provide a safe space for everyone, speakers and attendees. So that's something that's really important to me. Now, since we're all working virtually and presenting virtually, this whole list of questions is reduced to basically what video conference tool will we be using? Most cases it will be Zoom. What should the resolution of my presentation be? 16 by 9. Can I test my setup beforehand? Will someone keep track of my time? Usually conference monitors keep track of your time, but they show you a time while you're speaking. But in virtual cases, it's not always easy, so you have to keep track of your time. What tool will be used for Q&A? Who is my contact at the conference, just like in-person delivery, and is there a code of conduct? So don't worry about this. Conference organizers will usually send a lot of speaker guidelines. The reason I have that entire list was that when I first started speaking, there wasn't a lot of speaker guidelines available. So I used to send this list to conference organizers. But in the case of DroidCon, they sent all of this information to me, so I didn't have to worry about it. So tweet or post on social media about you. Conference organizers do this because they want to make sure that conferences have a lot of attendees, and you can also drum up interest about your talk on social media. When it comes to presentation software, a lot of times people have strong feelings about this, that they'll only use this particular one or from this brand. But I say, you use anything that you want, Google Slides or Keynote or PowerPoint, Prezi, DeckSet Slides, whatever you're comfortable with. I use either Google Slides or PowerPoint, and it works well for me. I've used them for many years, and I'm comfortable with how to use animations, how to use themes and layouts and so on. Whatever it is, learn how to do one thing well. And the other thing about Slides and PowerPoint, Google Slides and PowerPoint, is that they're collaborative. I can store them in the cloud in case I run into technical issues. I can always log into my account and then download these as long as I've backed it up. So a general layout for talks, and this is something I've been using for years, and this is based on my experience, is that I have an introduction slide which talks about the topic and who I am, and a little bit about like Twitter handles and social media handles and so on. And then an about me section where I talk about a little bit about myself, again, to establish expertise. An agenda or why. Why am I giving this talk? An agenda also gives people an idea of what to expect in the next 20 or 30 minutes. And 3 to 5 sections about the topic. I've noticed that a lot of times people don't remember things beyond 3 to 5 sections. So I group them into 3 sections that people can remember and also sketch note really well. And then takeaways. I always end with 3 to 5 takeaways and keep some time for Q&A. So let's take a look at my intro slide. So getting started with conference speaking is the name of this talk. Where I'm giving this talk at DroidCon Americas, when I'm giving this talk, and what is the hashtag of the conference, what I do, my name, what I do, where I'm available on social media, and a picture that ties into the topic of this talk. So this is a standard that I've been using for a long time, a couple of years. And this is something that I keep changing to suit the conference and to suit the topic. So have an intro slide that you can always reuse because it saves you a lot of time the more you reuse things that are common amongst talks. For images and icons, I use Unsplash. A lot of the images on this slide deck are from Unsplash. I use blackillustrations.com, which gives me a diverse set of images. Same thing with womenofcolourintech.com. They also give me a diverse set of images. And all of these are Creative Commons licensed and free stock of images. For icons, I use Noun Project or Material Design icon set, and sometimes the Microsoft PowerPoint Smart Art. So these are things that you can use, and always remember to give credit where credit is due. When you get images off the internet, make sure that you give credit to the original authors. When it comes to writing code, make sure you walk through code line by line. It's really hard for people to understand when you just drop a blob of code on the screen. So showing it line by line while you talk about it is something that people can remember. If there are other ways of doing this, you can also highlight code when you're talking about it. So if you have a lot of code on the screen, you can gray out things that you're not talking about and only highlight parts of the code that you are talking about. When it comes to live demos, make sure you always have backups. If there could be plenty of things that go wrong during giving a talk. So if you're trying to show off a live demo to someone, make sure you have video recordings in case things go wrong. Make use of Android Studio. There are things like file templates that you can use so that you don't have to write any boilerplate code. And you can make use of live templates in case you wanted to autofill a method. You can just type the public static void main, PSVM, and then it will fill those things out for you. As I mentioned before, use video recording tools like Wiser or Recorded or QuickTime Player. These are all tools that you can use and that are easily available. And if you want to do a demo, then make sure that you have a recording like this because a lot of people are visual learners. So when you're talking about code, they want to see how this works as well. Some tips on slide design. Create and reuse your intro template as much as possible. That way you don't have to spend a lot of time cleaning up your intro slide. Intro slide should grab everyone's attention, so make sure that it has all the information that people need to talk about you on like social media or your talk on social media. Have 3 to 5 sections. As I said, I have 3 sections in this talk because I've noticed that that's what makes people remember your talk better. Images are always greater than words. In some cases, people say don't use more than 6 words per slide, but it's really tough when you're doing a technical talk or a core talk. But try to focus on adding more images to break down the monotony of having words all over your slides. Give credit for images and ideas where it's due. Highlight code when you talk about it. Use animations judiciously. You can see here when I'm giving a talk, anytime I'm talking about a particular point, that is highlighted in black and everything else is grayed out. Add conference hashtags and social media handles. Some people like to add it on every single slide. I like to add it on the intro slide and at the end, but it's just a way for people to know where you're talking and how to reach out to you. And don't go below 24-point text size. This is even more helpful a tip when you're at a conference where you have hundreds of people in the audience so that people at the back can actually see what's on your slide. So don't go below 24. I would say you can go down to 18, but if that's something really important that people need to see, stick to 24-point. And the next part is you've worked on your slide design, but you need to actually work on your delivery. So you need to work on presenting out loud. Now, when you get on stage to give a talk or any sort of performance, then a lot of times you don't go there by just practicing in your head. You need to practice out loud. So make sure to do this before you give a conference talk. Time yourself. Anytime I give a talk, the first time I give it, it's really, really long because I haven't figured out the flow and I haven't figured out what I want to talk about entirely. So remove all the non-essentials. Remove all the things that are not important to your talk at all. Sometimes we have so much information, we want to add it all in there, but the best thing to do is edit all the non-essentials. Be mindful of segues. Be mindful of the transitions from one point to the other, from one slide to the other so that there's a flow in your head, and it shows in your preparation as well that you've thought about how everything flows in your talk. Record yourself at home 3 times. This is a tip that I have for myself, a personal rule for myself as well. I do not go on a stage unless I've recorded myself 3 times. And the reason I do this is because the first time I give a talk, and if it's a 30-minute talk, the first time I give it, it's about 60 minutes long. The second time I give it, it's about 45 minutes long. And the third time I give it, I get it within the 30-minute time frame. So by that time, I've presented out loud, I've timed myself, I've removed the essentials, I've focused on the transitions. So recording myself makes me feel much more comfortable when I present in front of an audience. Don't look at your speaker notes on your final practice. I've been at conferences where there are no confidence monitors or no presenter views, so I can't see speaker notes at all. So I don't look at my speaker notes at all on my final practice. I only look at it in the first and the second practice. And then on the third practice, I don't look at it because I'm concerned that I will start reading off the speaker notes. And I want to make sure that I'm authentic and not rehearsed. Wear what you would wear on conference day. And if it's something that you want to really do, like practice with with how you would actually be on conference day, where you would actually be on conference day, wear what you would wear on conference day. Also, present at a meetup or at work to solicit feedback. When you are present in front of a group of people, they will give you feedback that will be really helpful, that you can incorporate into your talk. And you can also do this at a meetup. You can also do this at your workplace. As long as you're present in front of 3 or 4 people, it's helpful before you get on stage and present in front of many, many more people. The point is to practice. Don't practice so much that it seems like you've rehearsed everything. And edit it, remove all the non-essentials, and practice again. The point of doing all of this is to be authentic and to be less rehearsed. And the more you start, getting comfortable with being on stage, presenting to a large crowd, the easier it gets. So before the conference, send your questions to organizers, prepare your slides and delivery. And this takes a lot of time, but focus on it. Carry your speaker equipment. I carry this Logitech remote with me everywhere, and you can find this easily online. And it's something that is in my speaker equipment bag, along with my HDMI cables and adapters and chargers. Post on social media about your upcoming talk. Back up your slides. This is really important. Store it somewhere in the cloud so you can access it in case things go wrong. 10 minutes before, make sure you're presentable. Hair, makeup, clothes, whatever it is, make sure that you are presentable in front of an audience, and get to the room where you're presenting so that you can work with the audio video folks. Take deep breaths. A lot of times we speak a lot faster when at a conference than we actually do when we practice at home. And remember why you're giving this talk, so you remember your passion behind this talk, and visualize your slides. Why, what is going to come up next, or what is the flow? These are things that you can remember. You can also read this blog post on the upside of your public speaking jitters. For delivery in person, as I said, speak slowly, keep an eye on the time, carry a bottle of water. This can be, there have been times where I've lost my voice because I'm busy speaking to people at the conference. So I've lost my voice while giving a talk. So I'll always carry a bottle of water. Carry your remote and speaker equipment. Be present, totally present. Don't let distractions get to you. Be prepared so that you are able to control what can be controlled, and everything else that can go wrong, you can be prepared for that. And be passionate. Take off your badge and any chunky jewelry, because that kind of, the mic can pick up all that noise. For delivery virtually, angle your camera and lighting. This is the same as a lot of delivery in person, but make sure you angle your camera and lighting as much as possible so you have eye contact with your audience. Remove distractions and any notifications beforehand. Like turn off your notifications on your laptop, remove your doorbell, connection, and soundproof as much as possible. We're all working from home, so we have kids and pets and family and all these other things, but soundproof as much as you can. Think about public speaking as a conversation, not a performance. One of the books that many of the books that I've read by Gary Reynolds talks about it. Public speaking is not just about going up on stage and performing. It's more of an enlarged conversation. So think of it as a meeting that you're having with your colleagues, but at But on a stage, it's just more enlarged, and you're speaking more with strangers. After the conference, upload your slides to SlideShare or Speaker Deck, um, meet audience members and other speakers, go back and watch your talk, look at the filler words that you're using, look at how you can make your talk better. Ask conference organizers for feedback. A lot of the um, organizers these days provide feedback on your talk through all the audience members. And share the video of your talk on social media when it comes out. Usually, videos come out 1 or 2 months after the conference happens. And update your speaker timeline. If you have a blog like mine, I keep track of all my upcoming talks, all my past conference talks, where my slides are available. So you can see here I'm talking, I have DroidCon Americas in upcoming talks. And on the right-hand side on my speaker deck, I keep track of all of my presentations over the past years. And you can notice that I've also given some talks several times. And this is fine because the more you give a talk, the better it gets. So I want to focus on time, and I know we're running low on it. So there's a lot of time spent in writing a new talk. You can write and submit abstracts and do research, and that can take about 2 to 5 hours. For slide design, it can go anywhere between 2 to 10 hours. For practice, it can take about 3 hours. For time spent in delivering a talk, speaking time can be 5 to 40 minutes, depending on whether it's a lightning talk or a full talk. Q&A can again be 5 to 10 minutes. But presenting your talk again could take 3 to 4 hours. So if you've invested time in writing a new talk, that could be anywhere between 20 to 30 hours, including slide design and preparation. But if you're presenting the same talk again, next time you do it, you're only spending about 3 to 4 hours on it. So with that being said, I want to focus on some quick takeaways because I talked a lot about a lot about abstracts and CFPs and preparation. But I want to make sure that you start thinking about it and definitely read books about this. I love the Confessions of a Public Speaker book, read it multiple times, and all the Presentations Zen series about slide design. But my biggest takeaways for you today are set a speaking goal. When I went to DroidCon 6 years ago, my speaking goal was to speak at DroidCon the next time, and I did that. And my goal was to keynote any conference at some point, and I did that. So set a speaking goal for yourself. Brainstorm abstract. You've been to a conference now, you have so many ideas in your head. Now's the time to go down and write things down, just all the things that you want to talk about. And then apply to speak at a conference near you. It's a lot easier to speak at conferences now because you can do it from the comfort of your home. You don't have to actually travel somewhere to give a talk. So if a conference, if the conference rejects you or accepts you, it doesn't matter. Start small and speak at a meetup. So remember, set a speaking goal, brainstorm all these ideas, and speak at a conference or a meetup near you. That being said, I thank you all for coming to Getting Started with Conference Speaking. I can take any questions that we have right now. Just going to wait for them to start showing up. Thank you so much. And you can always reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Thank you. All right, I see one question. Do you prepare any differently for a keynote versus a normal session? Yes, last year when I gave the keynote, I wanted to focus on themes at the conference. So I looked at all of the talks that were accepted at the conference, and I wanted to pull in all of the different things that people are talking about. So as I said, a keynote is more about an idea, something that brings people together. So I wanted to focus on that part. How do I bring people together? And how do I tie in all of the different talks at this conference together so we can showcase all of the talent that we have in our community? So yes, I do prepare pretty differently, but I do have, in terms of, like the ideas or themes behind it, a keynote is different. But when it comes to kind of thinking about it in terms of sections, I still have like 3 to 5 sections, even for a keynote. That's always been my standard template of having an introduction to, having sections and then takeaways. Oh, this is an interesting question, not related to public speaking, but it's a good one. How was the transition from Android engineer to engineering manager? Were the challenges related to people management versus code management? I think most people have the same, issue or challenge when they move from an Android engineer to a manager role, an engineer to a manager role, because these are different skill sets. With as an engineer, you're focusing more on the code, and you're focusing on code reviews, how to work with your team, how to make sure that you're learning something new about your tech stack every single day. With a manager, your focus kind of changes away from the code, but the focus is more on the team itself. So you're not focused just on writing code. You focus more on how can I get everyone to work well together? How do I make my team productive? So a lot of times people say it's a promotion from moving to an engineer to a manager. It is not. They're completely different tracks, and you have to wear different hats. So I was kind of in a hybrid role for a while, where I was writing code and I was also managing people. So for me, the biggest challenge was trying to get let go of mission critical things. I wanted to work on all the cool things, but then I realized that I was being the bottleneck, so I had to step back and let my teammates do that. All right, that was a good question. Thank you. How would you suggest choosing whether to do a lightning talk versus a 20-30 minute session? I think it totally depends upon the topic. Um, you can, like something like public speaking. I've actually given a version of this talk 5 years ago, and it was compressed into 20 minutes. You have to know how to edit. It's really important to know how to edit to make sure that everything fits into 5 minutes. Like if this were a 5 minute talk, I would not be focusing so much on preparation. Um, but it's really hard. It's really hard to take something down and put it down into like which is 40 minutes, and make it smaller into 5 minutes. So if it's a topic, like say for example, Chet and Rumen talked about graphics for Android developers. It's a lot to cover even in 40 minutes. So they understand that it has to be a series of talks. But when it comes to a lightning talk, if I were to give a lightning talk, I would probably focus on just what is important for developers to know if they're working with Android images right now, and that would help me make the decision of editing as much as possible so it fits into 5 minutes. Right, I think that was the last question. If there are any other questions, you can definitely reach out to me on Twitter or on the Talk app so I can answer any of your questions about public speaking. Just make sure to remember that if you really want to do this, set a speaking goal for yourself and write abstracts, and make sure that you apply to speak at a conference or meetup. Thank you so much, everyone.